Hello everyone and welcome to the Eclectic Handyman. Today I'm going to be replacing this regulator on my Craftsman oiled compressor. This is about a 15-year-old compressor, and this part right here is beginning to leak some air. So I've gone ahead and gotten the same replacement part, which for this is part number a little difficult to see on camera there. I'll read it, D27257. And one of the things I'm just crossing my fingers about on this is that this part is a true replacement for that. And what I mean by this is there's a lot of negative reviews online that even though the part looks exactly the same and has the same part number, the internal parts on it actually are built differently because there's two pressure regulator readouts here and two different gauges. So one is, and basically what you do is you pull this knob and turn it to set the PSI that you want your tools to work at, maybe 90 PSI. The other one is what the tank actually has. So these two gauges read differently, how much the tank has and how much you're putting out for your tools. The problem is that a lot of these replacement valves end up only reading just the tank pressure. So anyway, we'll have to find out. Regardless, even if I can't, if it doesn't have the same internal parts, I'm going to have to go ahead and replace it because it's leaking air, and it's not that difficult. So to go ahead and get started, all I need to do is replace this plastic nut by hand. I didn't even have to do anything else because that's just a plastic cover. And then from there, we're going to have to take off the regulator and the quick release attachment, and then from the back we'll be able to spin this off, put it back on, and then we can start up the compressor and check it out. So let's go ahead and get started by removing these each one differently. Let's go ahead and get started. So to begin, I'm just going to use a one of my favorite Craftsman adjustable wrench here. We'll just get in on the gauge. And it's not that difficult to loosen. It's not on there that tight. Probably could have even, looks like I might have been able to take that off by hand. And then once I've got that off, yeah, there we go. So carefully. Now, take note of which is on which side. Tank on the right and the regulated pressure on the left. Whoops, be very careful. Be a little more careful than I was. Put that to the side. And then we'll go ahead, get the next one. We'll loosen that up. Okay. Once again, this time I won't let the gauge plop down. There we go. Got the next one out. All right. Let's go ahead and remove our quick release. There we go. All right, for this next part, you actually can by hand loosen the assembly, but the problem is it's going to hit the tank all on its own. So there are two notches on the top of the regulator, which you can get your adjustable wrench on, and then we can go ahead and take this part off. There we go. And then finally, we can remove the old regulator. And there's the old regulator. So now installation is the reverse. All right, with the new one, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to loosen this up and take it apart so that we can put it on. And looking at the inside, there's a spring mechanism here. And then as far as the inside, the chamber design appears to be identical. So we will be able to install this, carefully put down these pieces. We'll be able to install this and hopefully get the same type of behavior with the two gauges again. So I want to go ahead and clean up the old threads and get that prepped and ready, clean. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some pipe joint compound. You could use Teflon tape, the pipe tape. I'm going to use a little bit of this around here on all the different parts. This was just a few dollars at the hardware store, and I usually keep this stuff around. So I'll go ahead and get this cleaned up and put a little bit of this on. All right, I also noticed some corrosion up inside this hole, and unfortunately, I don't have any pipe cleaner that would fit that size. So without getting super creative, I've got a couple of Q-tips with some rubbing alcohol. I'm just going to get in there. I don't want to, cause any big disturbance with debris that would end up potentially, harming the tools. The thing is, should have a filter in line for my power tools anyway. Unfortunately, last time I hooked one up that was like a oiler, it did not work well. And I'm thinking that's because of the brand. I got one from Harbor Freight and it was probably a piece of junk. So I ended up having to take it off. But anyway, I do want to try to get an opportunity here, to just to kind of clean this out a little bit. Since I have the opportunity. I had some ideas. I could have probably wrapped maybe a little bit of steel wool on here. Again, I don't want to cause any integrity issues. I'm just trying to clean it up as best as possible so that air come through from the compressor is as nice and as clean as possible. So just kind of cleaning it out. And then because this is rubbing alcohol, it'll just dry. Yeah, that's quite a bit better. Looking on the inside there, I can see up in there, it is quite a lot nicer. All right, so I'll put a little bit of this pipe joint compound, getting the initial bit off. That should be plenty. Making sure not to get it on the inside. In fact, that's more than enough. I will wipe off the excess. There we go. All right, and make sure to note orientation of the old one to new one. And I happen to know that the part number ended up on this side. So that's the side that will go in. And again, this was only on, and it even has an arrow right here. Okay, it has an arrow indicating which way the air goes. It goes that way, it goes that way. All right, don't want that washer to come out. Oh, and it did, and I do not want to get debris on that, so I'm going to be very careful here. Hold that off to the side. There we go. Nice and tight. Step one complete. I dropped the seal back down inside now that we've got it reinstalled, and then I'm going to carefully place that top. You'll feel it go into place, and then I'll just be able to hand tighten, and then we'll give it a little snug. This is plastic into metal, so once it seats flush, it just needs like maybe, just so we don't have any air leaks, just a little bit. Just a little right there. In fact, you can tell it's even made because the words are perpendicular to the air compressor here. So it's just perfect. All right, next we need to put back on our two regulators here. I'm also just going to clean this up a little bit and then put a little bit of the joint compound, the pipe joint compound on here, and then we'll put this one in by hand once again and just give it a little snug. And I'll just use a little bit of steel wool on the end there to help clean up those threads. Got a little bit of the sealant on, as I said, and we'll put the regulated pressure on the left-hand side and screw that in. And tighten that down with my wrench. Once it goes hand tight, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to get it right to even again, right where the reading was displayed. And there we go. Let's do the exact same thing on the tank side. Have the tank side all prepped and ready, and I've also cleaned up those threads just the same. Nice and easy. Make sure that the threads are not cross-threading. It should be nice and easy. And again, once you get hand tight, we'll move over to our adjustable wrench. And there we have our tank pressure. And then the last piece is to put our quick connect back on. Now, my quick connect that was in there also was a little suspect as far as the integrity. It's very old, and I'm not sure if it's leaking air because I know when the hose was moving in the wrong direction. And so I'm going to go ahead in good measure and replace this. I have some new older stock Craftsman air compressor components here. These are the higher flow 3/8 automotive body. I believe they call these the Type A, and I also have a new quick connect. So we'll go ahead and put one of these on here, and then we can put our quick connect on it, and we'll have that coming off the new regulator for good measure. All right, and with the magic of video, it took me a little while because I had to run over to Harbor Freight because I needed this step down to go from my new quick release into this part right here on the regulator. So let me add the thread material on here, and we'll go ahead and get this installed as well. All right, and the final step to go ahead and thread this on with my new quick release. And again, you can use the one that was on the regulator, but it was so old, I decided to go ahead and put a new one on it, as I had mentioned. And this time I got the proper wrench. I got a 17 millimeter, so get this tightened up here. I'm going to turn the whole thing. All right. There we have it. Well, the last step will be to power it up, turn it on, check for leaks, and we will be done. All right, time to start it up. All right, so we'll kick it off at 100 PSI, and now the true test to see if this is like the OEM. Let's try to lift it up, turn to the left, and back down the regulator. And sure enough, it does work. Beautiful. We got 100 PSI on the tank, and I knocked that down. You know, you'd keep adjusting it. Right now, it's around 70 PSI. You know, a lot of my tools run around 90 PSI. Very happy that this one is exactly like the OEM one. It was Amazon, where a lot of people were complaining the one they bought off of Amazon did not work. I bought this from a small lawn and garden shop online, and it is identical. Very happy. All right, check for leaks. No air leaks. Great integrity. Definitely solved the problem. We'll go ahead and put that plastic cover back on. And then we'll put the nut back on as well. So there you have it, replacing the regulator on your air compressor. And this is my Craftsman Professional 150 PSI max, 6 horsepower, 25-gallon air compressor. And hope this helped. So until next time, this is the Eclectic Handyman saying see you later.